Hello, everybody. Welcome back to As We Speak. Today, we're going to discuss an issue that's affecting many parents and families around the world, the impact that the cancelled board examinations, such as the O levels and A levels, are having on their children's lives. And to discuss this issue with me, I have here Mr. Angus Gibson, the Managing Director of educational consultancy and tutoring agency Bonus McFarlane here in the UAE. Thank you so much for joining me today, Angus.
Not at all. Thank you for having me.
So Angus, let's get right to it. Another year wasted. Many parents, many kids feel that this is another year wasted. I believe The Guardian even printed an article with exactly this title. How do you feel?
Well, I certainly agree. For a lot of students, it's been an intensely difficult year. The usual crunch points we have with GCSEs and A levels, those revision sessions have now been cancelled. So there's no hallmark to work towards, and that intensity of revision's gone. So for children who are receiving substandard online schooling from their school, and are not necessarily in a home environment, which really encourages and nurtures learning and supports the schooling they should be doing, yes, it could well be a wasted year and a very, very challenging year, and a lot to catch up on when we return to normal schooling. On the other hand, a lot of students who maybe have older siblings at home or who are seeking professional advice or who have well-educated parents, actually the time they save this year, not doing roll call, not on school buses, etc., and have actually been able to read wider around the subject, thinking about maybe applying for a university or done some extracurricular activities, they have actually been quite profitable in the time they've gained.
So what is going to make a child stand out? One, when there's no grades, and two, when there's no excellence in any ECAs, ranging from drama to sport to music. What do you think universities will look out for?
Well, firstly, there will still be grades, whether they're from mocks or predicted grades, there will be some form of defined grade given to the university as the initial entry point. And then it will be handed over to personal statements, admission to test, interviews, etc., all of which can be prepared for at home and shouldn't be too disrupted. Now, the main point with UK universities, it's not about the extracurricular. It's not so much about the person you are. It's about how you engage with the subject matter. So what the university is interested in the interview, in your personal statement, is seeing how you've read around the subject you're applying for, how you engage with that subject matter, and how you're going to put it to use at university. So there really shouldn't be too much worry about missing out on extracurricular activities. Now, with applying to US universities, it's very slightly different in they're much more engaged with who you are as a person and will you fit in at this university. But I think for the majority of students, it really shouldn't be too disruptive.
The lack of exams and all these assignments, it's led to a lot of unsupervised collaboration online. It's also an opportunity for kids to connect because they feel isolated. But, when things go back to normal or a new normal, how do you think kids will cope then with exams, with having to do their assignments, completely on their own? How do you think they'll sort of go back?
I think unsupervised collaboration has always taken place, whether it's passing a note at the back of an exam or now experiencing more online collaboration. It's always been there. And yes, potentially it has been more exaggerated now, but it's another form of encouragement and helping students connect. So when you're feeling potentially isolated at home, doing all your schooling just with your family or perhaps your tutor behind a computer, to encourage extra collaboration in a non-plagiarism sense is not necessarily a bad thing. And I think when it comes to going back to school, well, I've been continually impressed by the agility of which all the students we work with have adapted to online. Now, that's the hard shift. They're effectively told overnight, you've got to start doing a whole schooling online. So I think returning to the normal is going to be the much easier transition.
What are your tips for kids to stay motivated, sort of put their best foot forward, make sure they ace every assignment, because assignments are so important right now, especially amidst all this COVID fatigue. This has been going on for so long now.
Yeah, of course. I think it's a case of taking things step by step. Assignments are very important, but they're not necessarily more important than they have been in the past. And though we don't have exams and they will be forming predicted grades using other means, using classwork, using assignments. Take them one by one, take it step by step, because the overall goal hasn't changed. So there doesn't need to be a huge shift of importance onto one specific area.
And now that we've had 2 years of no exams, do you think the education system has sort of changed for good? Do you think we'll go back to the status quo?
Yes, I think there's two ways of looking at that. Firstly, a change in the education system and the way in which we deliver subject matter was long overdue, and the move to online had already started. We were seeing a lot of students online before the pandemic, and this has just acted as a massive, probably too exaggerated, catalyst towards that. However, when this inevitable shift happens over the next 5, 10 years, whatever it may be, we're now very well prepared to do it. For the schools and in terms of admissions, I'm sure a lot of schools are very happy with the slimmed down process. The online interviews, it's much easier to orchestrate and can in many ways be much more effective. But in most of the time in these situations, schools tend to revert to what they had. So I think when the pandemic is well and truly over, we will on the whole shift back to the status quo. But I think we learned some valuable lessons which we'll be taking forward.
And finally, what is your advice to parents who are just trying to stay afloat, navigating this sort of critical phase in their children's lives?
You need to just stay vigilant. Information is changing continually. Social media and news channels offer a great source of information. The schools continue to post information on changes to admissions process, to exam boards. So the information is out there and it's very accessible. So it's down to parents to keep up to date with that and relay that to their children and keep calm in the household. And then, of course, I would say seek professional help if needed. It really does help. A parent having to tell their child not to do that, it's very tricky when you're already telling them to go to bed and brush their teeth, etc. So it really can help to have a tutor or a mentor, maybe just an hour a week to really help engage with that.
Angus, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure this was very useful. I know there's a lot of parents who are just literally trying to stay afloat right now. Parents, if you do need any advice, any mentorship, any guidance, do reach Bonus McFarlane at
Bonus McFarlane _Middle East.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Do share, like, subscribe, and comment. I'll see you next week. Bye.